So apparently, the whole Tyler Robinson Charlie Kirk thing is taking a very strange turn. It turns out that he was what they call a Groyper, which I never really heard the term before until I had to dig into it. It's an alt-right group who likes Nick Fuentes, and apparently they don't like conservatives like Charlie Kirk because they don't think they're conservative enough. Tyler Robinson was very active on places like 4chan, and he talked a lot about how he didn't like Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now today we're going to be talking about some developments in the case of Charlie Kirk, the elimination of Charlie Kirk. Now, of course, like we mentioned before, the conservatives, they've been trying to come up with a brand new narrative, right? Once they realized that the perpetrator was cut from that cloth, they tried to say, oh, he was radicalized by the Department of Education, right? He was radicalized by the left wing in college, right? Down in Utah, right? Then they said, oh, it was because of the LGBT, right? So now they're blaming his activities in the bedroom for why he did what he did, right? They're coming up with all type of stories and all type of scenarios, right? But now we have new developments coming out. Apparently, amongst the conservatives themselves, amongst the right wingers themselves, apparently there's been some infighting. There's been some instability amongst the factions. And usually, like I said before, usually when somebody in a position of leadership gets taken out, usually it's by their own people. And usually it's a scenario where you have internal factions that are battling amongst each other, right? And that's usually what happens when somebody gets taken out by his own people. So today we're going to be examining that angle. Now, apparently amongst the conservatives, we have different factions. We have guys like Charlie Kirk, and then we have guys like Nick Fuentes and a bunch of other guys. So apparently there was a rivalry between Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk. Apparently Nick Fuentes wasn't really a big fan of Charlie Kirk, and apparently Charlie Kirk wasn't a big fan of Nick Fuentes. So amongst the factions on the right wing, there was tension. Now we have certain rumors going around that maybe the suspect in the case was a member of Nick Fuentes' faction, a loyalist of the Nick Fuentes faction, and apparently, allegedly, they're saying that might be connected to the elimination of Charlie Kirk. So today we're just going to be examining that angle. Like I said, I'm an outsider, right? The same way that Charlie Kirk was talking about the black community, I'm simply a commentator just speaking on what's going on in the white community. The same way Charlie Kirk used to do, right? That's all I'm doing. Now, anyway, let's get into some of these articles. Take a look at this headline. What is a Groyper? Now, a Groyper, that is the Nick Fuentes faction. Like, apparently these guys, it's like a bunch of gangs, right? Like within the conservative faction, right? That's the umbrella that everybody's under. But under the conservative umbrella, you have different factions, right? You have those who are, far right. You have those who are more moderate. You have those who are a mix of both. And apparently there's different names. So apparently in the Nick Fuentes faction, they call themselves the Groypers, right? It's like gangs and guys in the street battling for territory and influence. That's what it sounds like, right? So, Nick Fuentes, he's the chief of his faction, the Groypers, right? He's repping his gang. And then he was beefing with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, another high-rank general, another leader, in his faction. So we have the two factions beefing, right? And the two leaders, Fuentes and Charlie Kirk, right? And now one of the leaders got killed. So from the outside looking in, this seems like just, stereotypical, degeneracy, gang violence, things like that. I don't know what these guys got going on, beefing over the internet. Anyway, let's continue. Far-right podcaster Nick Fuentes is begging his followers to not take up arms amid the internet speculation that the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk could have been one of his followers. In a stream that he posted on his Rumble channel, Fuentes said that he disavows any fan who engages in political violence. So it seems like Nick Fuentes is trying to get in front of the story because one of his soldiers might have, took to the streets and went on the mission and took out a big leader of a rival faction, of a rival gang. So now, Nick Fuentes is trying to get in front of the story. He said, listen, I disavow anybody who takes up, violent action, taking up arms against somebody, right? He probably didn't realize that this could spill into the streets, right? So one of his soldiers said, listen, it's beef. And now Nick Fuentes is trying to clear his name. Now let's continue. The Groypers appeared to emerge as a far-right political movement in 2019 as followers of Nick Fuentes, with similar beliefs to other alt-right and white supremacist groups grounded in traditional Christian values, characterizing themselves as American nationalists. Now, like I told you, the rise in white nationalism, I did a video on that a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, right? It's real. It's real. I thought I was joking. Nah, it's real. Let's continue. Groypers view traditional conservatism as being too moderate and believe that shifting racial and cultural demographics pose an existential threat to white Americans. Groypers believe that the United States should close its borders, are opposed to liberal values, feminism, and the LGBT, and argue that conservatives, including Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump, should lean further to the right. Last year, Fuentes said that he declared war against the Trump presidential campaign. Now, time out. Now, to me, this sounds like standard infighting amongst the factions that you would find anywhere in the world, right? You have one faction that might be a little moderate, and then you have another faction that's a little more hardcore, and they believe that the moderate faction is a little too soft, or they're not legitimate, right? You find this type of infighting in all type of political factions, religious factions all across the world, right? For example, there are certain Christian factions that might view another Christian faction as not being, Christian enough. There are certain Muslim factions that might view another Muslim faction as not being Muslim enough or sticking to the code of Islam to the letter of the Quran, right? So this is a stereotypical infighting that happens all over the world, right? You have one faction that believes that the other faction is not sticking to the fundamentals as they should, right? Thus, violence ensues, happens every day, happens all the time, happens all throughout history. Let's continue. Charlie Kirk was often targeted by the Groypers who believed that Charlie Kirk's political beliefs were too moderate. Now, time out, you see? There you go. So in the Nick Fuentes faction, the so-called the Groypers, they were probably all the way to the right. So Charlie Kirk was probably not all the way to the right like they were. So because of that, they viewed him as an adversary. So happens all the time. Sounds like the stereotypical infighting that happens all the time. Now, let's continue. Now, it's funny because just a few days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I believe there was an article that came out in the New York Times. Take a look up on the screen. Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist problem for the right. For years, conservatives hoped that the notorious white nationalists would go away, but instead, Nick Fuentes has gained more traction, even while opposing the president. So that was before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I think maybe a few days before. So as you can see, there was already infighting that was visible amongst the factions, amongst the far right. Right. So now they're trying to deflect onto, oh, it was the radical left. It was this and that. It was the Department of Education. No, Charlie Kirk was eliminated by his own people. Right. We're not going to stop beating that drum. Charlie Kirk was removed. He was targeted. He was taken out by his own people. But anyways, I want to get into a clip where Nick Fuentes is basically explaining, what his movement is all about. So run the clip. I'll be right back.
Groypers are too antagonistic. I think that's the reason why people like them, because we are energetic. We're not like these baby conservatives that are, they show up to these college Republican meetings with like their pocket protector and they're like, I really like Josh Hawley and I like common good originalism. And Groypers are like, it's America first, bitch. And like, these are young guys. These are young, virile, like in so many cases, teenagers, 20 something. And, their whole lives, they have been oppressed. They've been oppressed by, their parents, their libtard parents, if their parents are divorced or overbearing moms, oppressed by the education system, oppressed by the media. Everything's been taken from them. The women have been alienated and turned against them. Everything's been taken away. And the big problem, I think where the antagonism arises from is then you've got this conservative establishment, which is not, I wouldn't say it's the people in this room. I don't see a lot of establishment in this room, but when you see a lot of these pundits or people on Fox News, excluding, of course, Tucker and other places. And so the reason why my followers particularly are hostile to the conservative establishment, it's sort of like, we're in dire straits, young men, and the people that supposedly represent our side don't represent us and don't appreciate us and are not really talking about our real problems. And that's where a lot of the antipathy comes from. And I'm sort of like an avatar of them.
All right, we back. So basically, Nick Fuentes basically describing these guys in the same way I described them myself. A bunch of unhappy guys. The white women don't like them. They're unhappy with society. So they gravitate to guys like Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk and these far right spaces to get a sense of comfort and family and brotherhood, right? So I already described these guys to a T in previous videos, right? A bunch of losers, a bunch of lames, and they find comfort amongst these like-minded individuals, and they just cluster in these far-right spaces and corners of the internet, right? And in order to cope with their inferior existence, they sit around and slander and antagonize other groups, and, that's how they get their dopamine hit for the day, and that's what they do, right? That's what they do. Now, I'm going to get into some clips that Nick Fuentes actually put out when he was alive, talking about Charlie Kirk. So you can see, to me, this is no different than, gang violence, gang beef that we see, in the inner cities every single day. You got one guy representing one faction talking crazy on the internet, talking against his so-called opposition, right? Another guy gets shot and killed. To me, it just seems like no different than what happens in the inner cities across America every single day, right? The same degeneracy, right? The same nonsense. Anyway, jump into the clip. I'll be right back.
And one has to wonder, is he being paid by Israel? Without a doubt, the answer is yes. Without a shadow of a doubt, he is being paid by them. And someone who is on the payroll of a foreign state is not somebody that you can trust on anything. That's not somebody that you can take the good with the bad. How can you go up there and pretend to be a godly man? Why? Because you tell people to get married? Oh, look, I have my kid. He posted the other day, he's on Fox and Friends, and his daughter runs up and jumps into his lap. And we're supposed to look at this carefully manicured public relations material and say, aw, what a family man. What a good Christian. He's practically a pastor. And people need to push harder. We need to push for more. It's not good enough. What has to happen with Charlie Kirk is one of two things. One, he needs to recant his support for Israel. Not I'm going to hear everybody out, you're not an anti-Semite. No, you need to come out and say, I took foreign money. I shilled for a foreign country, and I won't anymore. Or two, you need to leave the stage. People cannot listen to somebody that they cannot trust. You can't have it that way.
All right, we back. Now, as you can see, clearly there was some beef. Clearly, there was some tension amongst the factions between Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk. Basically, according to Nick Fuentes, Charlie Kirk, he wasn't real, right? Oh, he ain't real, right? It sounds like street beef to me. Oh, he not a real one. Oh, he not real. I'm the realest in the streets. Oh, he a fraud, right? So to me, it just sounds like street beef. To me, it just sounds like no different than what happens they talk about Chicago all the goddamn time. To me, it sounds like, two different blocks beefing in Chicago. But anyways, after the temperature started getting too hot because people started putting the pieces together, people started putting 1 and 2 together, and they were like, hold up, bro. Hold up. You were beefing with this guy. Now he pop up dead. And the shooter, they said he was affiliated with your gang, with your faction. Hold up, bro. Now folks are sitting around asking themselves, whoa, Nick Fuentes, are you connected to the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Because we know that was your ops. We know that was your opposition. That was your adversary. So are you connected to his elimination? So now Nick Fuentes, he panicking. He's trying to get in front of the story. Run the clip. I'll be right back.
This is a very delicate situation. I fear that this has set off a chain reaction. I pray to God there is no further violence. I pray to God that nobody else is hurt as a result of this. I hope that it stops here. It should stop here. To all of my followers, if you take up arms, I disavow you, I disown you in the strongest possible terms. That is not what we are about. And the same goes obviously for the other side. And I want to make that very clear. It would be a profound moral, political mistake for anybody to take the bait and to engage in any kind of reprisal, retaliation, revenge. Remember, we are the good side. And what makes us good is that we have Christ.
Now, as you can see, Charlie Kirk was taken out by his own people. And not only by his own people, but it seems like even those within his faction. So it seems like this is, internal conflict, tribal conflict. Of course, they're trying to put it on the far left. But even let's say it did come from the radical left, the far left, whatever they want to say. It still came from your own people, because like I said, when it comes to us, when it comes to the black community, they don't break it down into factions and denominations, the black Christians versus the black Muslims, the black libertarians versus the black conservatives and the black liberals, right? The black capitalists versus the black socialists, right? The black atheists versus the black, no. It's just the black community. It's just the black community, and that's it. So why are we obligated to break them up into different tribes and groups and factions and affiliations? No, you got killed by your own people. The same way that if it was a black man killing another black man, it would have been like, listen, he got killed by his own people. So we're not going to break you up into factions and groups and different sides of the wings. Oh, this is the left wing. This is the right. No, No, he was killed by his own people. And it really looks like not only was he killed by his own people, but he was killed by tribal conflict, internal conflict amongst the factions, rivalries amongst the factions. That's what it's looking like. You know, they trying to run off, oh, he had a transgender roommate over in Utah. Please, brother, come on, man. Stop these comic book stories. He was killed by his own people, right? And it sounds like it's just some regular street beef to me. It sounds like street beef. You got one guy talking on the internet, oh, he a fraud, or that's my ops. And then he pop up dead, right? So to me, this sounds like street beef, gang violence. You know, it is what it is, right? Nick Fuentes, he done took out his opposition. That's what it seemed like. And now, in a bid to protect himself from the consequences, now he's trying to get in front of the story. It's no different than when somebody commits a crime in the streets, then they start talking about all the turkeys they give away for Thanksgiving and how he helps the old ladies cross the street. Listen, we ain't trying to hear that, brother. But like I said, it's just the irony of it all, because in the days leading up to Charlie Kirk's death, the conservative, especially those in the conservative media, they were going on the attack against everybody. Oh man, especially black men, right? Black men, they were on the attack against black men in the days leading up to Charlie Kirk's death. Oh man, the big black boogeyman, the dangerous black man. So of course we had to come back and give them the reality check and let them know that the vast majority of murder victims in the white community, they fell victim to white perpetrators, right? So it's not the black man terrorizing the white community. It's the white man terrorizing his own community. And then the death of Charlie Kirk to come right after that, man, it's a true reality check for them. It's a true reality check for them to now, hopefully, they can look inwards instead of looking outwards all the goddamn time. Instead of hyper focusing on the black man all the goddamn time, it's time to really look in the mirror. It's like I said, because Charlie Kirk was taken out by his own people, and 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, that's how it goes. You get taken out by your own people, right? So listen, I don't care about your little tribes and factions, or the right wing, the left wing, conservative, far left. I don't care. He was taken out by his own people. That's what it is, and that's what it is, man. Anyway, it's your boy Infighting Salim back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. The Spy and Bomber Code, second single off the next project. Pin comment at the top. Subscribe to the Patreon, NCD1814, and I'm gone. Peace.
Two families on the right keep getting mashed together in coverage. There's the mainline far-right Christian nationalism, and then the Groyper scene, especially its black-pilled accelerationists. They overlap in rhetoric and enemies, but they don't want the same future, and they don't use the internet in the same way. Groypers refers to a youth-driven online far-right scene that's associated with the America First brand, which is led by Nick Fuentes. And so for Christian nationalism, in its hard-right form, it insists that the nation is or should be explicitly Christian, prizes hierarchy, order, and a return to rightful social roles. But the strategy is institutional. They want to win elections, they want to pass laws, they want to staff the courts and capture the school boards and rechristen the public square. And you hear vocabulary about restoration and revival and sovereignty and virtue. And this imagined endpoint is a moral order enforced by the state. And even when their rhetoric gets apocalyptic, the plan is still state power. The Groyper world orbits a completely different sun. It's youth heavy, it's a coalition that includes a lot of streamers and online personalities, and it borrows from incel forums, gamer chat, crypto cynicism, edgelord comedy, and a lot of terminally online irony.
Feel like you see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yan in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming he innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit them with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my dance on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in the savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart getting colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in the whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in the whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's send shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try, but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison, hoping and wishing we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, winning my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.